Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution, or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tara Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on OMTimes Radio.
Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. My name is Martha. I'm a clinical sexologist based in Singapore, and my company is called Eros Coaching. That's eroscoaching.com. And this week, I have a very interesting show for you. And I kid you not, it is very, very interesting. We are going to be talking about female ejaculation, and of course, linked to the female ejaculation is the G-spot. And I have with me somebody who's very qualified, very beautiful, very energetic, and somebody I really admire very much. So today's show is called Come Hither, Come Forth, Calling Forth the Gush. Okay, we're calling for the Gush for you today. And what is the Gush? So we're talking about female ejaculation. And female ejaculation is all the rage these days. We see examples in adult film portraying squirting as the next frontier of sex. So somehow, if you're not squirting, there might be something wrong with you. But of course, as sexologists, we're not saying that. Victoria. Sorry. Oh my God, what's happening? Okay. Victoria emphasizes fun, exploration, and anatomy rather than gender and orientation, while giving specific techniques to encourage squirting in those with a vulva. So for those of you who want to learn it, who are interested, of course, we will be able to teach you and talk about it today. All genders are welcomed as we explore fact versus fiction. Is this some kind of weird stuff that we're talking about that doesn't really happen in real people? Nope, we're talking about fact versus fiction today. Specific suggestions and toy recommendations, all of which can help this type of play success. Okay, my guest, Dr. Veronica Reuveni. Yeah. She is a Los Angeles-based sexological bodyworker, sex educator, and coach, working with individuals, couples, and groups to facilitate going deeper in erotic embodiment and self-acceptance through mindfulness, breathwork, and touch. She blogs about sex, kink, gender, and body image, and reviews sex toys. Victoria is a board member and educator with the Center for Positive Sexuality, speaking on panels to university students and professionals about kink/BDSM, non-monogamy, and sex work. She has facilitated over a dozen orgasmic yoga circles, including a 6-week series and a 3-evening mini-series just this year. You can find her at sexologistbixen.com. That's sexologist with a T, and Bixen, BIXENNE.com. So welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And it's been a long time coming. I've been looking forward to interviewing you.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, of a long time, since May.
Yeah, absolutely. May, and we did our orgasmic yoga for Masturbation May challenge, I guess. That was pretty awesome.
Yes.
In my opinion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, Veronica, myself, and John Gosling in UK, the three of us got together. We did a Zoom interview kind of thing, and we talked about orgasmic yoga. And this video is found on YouTube. So if you Google orgasmic yoga Zoom, you will be able to find this video. So
yes.
Tell us, what is female ejaculation? Because this is the topic of today's show.
Okay, so first thing, I'm going to just go out there and be totally bold and contrary to a lot of maybe people you see in the media and whatnot, is that I'm not an expert in this. And I totally feel comfortable saying that I'm not an expert. This is not something that I do with ease or regularity. And that also the jury is out on what is female ejaculation versus squirting versus gushing. I've recently been reading up a little bit more about it just to sort of, in preparation for this show. I did teach a couple classes on this earlier in the year, but it's still I'm just curious to see whether has there been any new research or what have you. And I just did a cursory search, and honestly, I'm not finding anything that conclusively says what this is, what is what, and all this. So if people are coming into the show for definitive answers, I apologize, you may not get that today. But also I want to kind of move this sort of conversation in general and culturally away from having to label what it is or what exactly it looks like. Because the point is, are you having fun? Are you exploring? Is it enjoyable to you? Awesome. If not, okay, move along. It doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all. So that's my little takeaway. I hope that's useful and not terrifying for folks who need labels, if that made any sense. Oh, technical difficulties, maybe? No. I don't know if I heard your last thing that you said. Okay, well, if we're going away from the exact, okay, there's a little bit of a delay on this, but we'll power through it. Technology is interesting. So female ejaculation, and also I want to move away from this thing about female. When we're talking about squirting or ejaculation, I want to talk about people who have vulvas, vaginas, right? Because maybe people who have this body part don't identify with the word female or woman. It's super important to make a distinction between anatomy versus gender. So that's a huge important thing. Even though I'm cisgender, I identify as a woman. I was titled female when I was born and all of that. It's important for me to get that word out, that this particularly is separating, talking about people who have vulvas and vaginas and doing this thing. So with all of that long-winded background, so we're talking about squirting and ejaculation, which is stimulating the vulva, the vagina, and in particular, for some people, stimulating the G-spot, which is inside the vagina, which can be reached through inside the vagina, to induce a liquid that comes forth through the urethra, which is either, it can be more explosive, more ejaculatory. You might see that in some porn, which, remember, movie magic, or it can be more of a trickle or a gush or some sort of other way that the fluid comes out. It's not always super explosive. And so going back to what it is and what it isn't and research and all this stuff, number one, there is no one answer that I've been able to find. And if you go and you Google it, is it pee? That's a huge question and a source of concern for a lot of folks. And certainly because it is coming from the urethra, there will be trace amounts of urea, which is part of urine, that are found in there. Even if you just peed recently before you go, to make sure that it isn't pee, which is actually a pretty good suggestion before you get started. Most likely it's just whatever was left over, because you can't fully expel whatever was in the urethra itself. So it's some of this, it's sugars, it's like glucose and things like that, as well as I believe it's PSA, prostate specific. It's similar to like prostatic fluid that you would find in people who have penises and prostates. So these are very analogous sorts of fluids that are coming forth, because bodies are very similar regardless of sex. So that's kind of the biggest nutshell ever, and kind of a roundabout way of going to it. But yeah, so this is what squirting or ejaculation for people with vulvas and vaginas is. Okay.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Plato and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then, hey, the dreaded splash fight. It's Dad o'clock, and it's the best time of the day. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
And welcome to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Today I'm talking about ejaculation for people who have a vulva, and the show title is called Come Hither, Calling Forth the Gush. And I have with me Victoria Reuveni. And welcome back.
Thank you. Nice break.
Okay, good. So just before the break, we were talking about what is the female ejaculation and where it comes from. So go ahead and give us some of your tips about how those of us who are interested to be able to have squirting do so.
Absolutely. So I came up with, it's a little bit of a clunky mnemonic, but it might help. So it's called high tap. It's capital H, lowercase y, and then capital TAAPP, which stands for hydration, time, arousal, angle, pressure, and patience. So these are just the quick tips of like how to do it. You have to be super hydrated. If you're not hydrated, it's going to be difficult for extra fluid to be produced and, gush forth, as it were. Also, you need to have set aside a lot of time. You can't, especially if this is your first time and you have to kind of work at it, you can't just go into it thinking, okay, cool, I have, 15 minutes between now and when I have to go make dinner or whatever. No. Set aside some time, get super cozy, super comfy, get everything you might need, and that way at least you have the pressures, like mental pressures, to make it easier. How much time? Okay, well, I can't give specifics, but if I go into TMI land where I talk a little bit about myself, which I've written about in the post that I did on my site on sexologyfixin.com, the first time I squirted, the first time I squirted, it took me a couple of hours, like close to 3 hours. So this isn't like, for me anyways, it wasn't like the sort of walk in the park. And your mileage may vary, but you're going to need a bit of time. Also, you're going to need to be like super duper aroused, whether that's watching some porn and getting in the mood, making sure you have some toys going around and all that sort of stuff to help you really like sort of reach past any barriers. Angle. So we're talking about, that's part of the title of this call is Come Hither. I'm sure most people have heard of the sort of come hither motion that you do with your fingers, where you kind of doing this, like, it's hard to do this like via radio, but imagine that you're sort of beckoning someone. So if you insert fingers into the vagina, you're going to want to curl your fingers upwards towards the belly button or the navel and sort of do this sort of come hither moving motion towards you and work on the G-spot. We're also talking about pressure. So for most people with a G-spot, they like this firm, rhythmic sort of pressure and sort of pulling. So get your whole arm involved, don't be shy and sort of get into it. And lastly, of course, is patience. It may or may not work the first time or work. It may or may not happen for you the first time that you're going into it and wanting to have an ejaculation or squirting experience. But know that ultimately it's all about exploring your body, seeing what feels good, bookmarking that for later. And it's just have fun. Sex shouldn't be so serious, whether it's by yourself or with a partner. It's all about, just adding to your menu. So those are my quick tips.
Okay, so thank you for that. So I just want to make sure that I got it correct. So you came up with this acronym called HYTAAPP. That's HYTAAPP. I got the part about hydration, time, arousal, and what's the second A?
Angle.
Playing with the angle, and then there's pressure, playing with the pressure, and having lots of patience. Got it. This is beautiful. Were you the one who came up with this?
Thank you. I came up with it. Actually, I was chatting with some folks and some other sex educators and a sex researcher, and it sort of evolved, but they were happy to give me the credit on that one, actually. And apparently it's helped at least one of them get laid or get down with some folks. So that was cool. I'll take credit for that.
Yeah, awesome. So, okay, I just want to, because, I'm Singaporean and I'm Asian, so I don't really know much about these things. Does HYTAAPP actually mean something?
Well, no, I started it, so I started it in this particular form, but I'm sure versions of these elements exist. But I think I might be the first person to say HYTAAPP. So it's new. Maybe it'll catch on. It's a little funky. My point is to just get the pieces across rather than if you call it that.
Yeah, the basics.
Like, hey, baby, let's do the HYTAAPP tonight. No, maybe not so sexy. I get it.
Yeah, like a code word.
Say again?
Like a code word.
Right, exactly. That might be cute, Hey, let's do a HYTAAPP tonight. Clear the schedule for a few hours. Okay, maybe this can become a thing.
Yeah, I love it. So yes, come hither. That's a very definitive technique for giving someone ejaculation from the vulva. I'm just wondering how easy it is to give it to yourself, considering, the angling kind of issue. Some people feel that their fingers or their arms are not long enough to be able to self-stimulate their vulva. What do you feel about that?
That's a super great point. And actually, as someone who is plus size, if you want to be gentle about it, I'm fat, it's fine. So I do have a bit of trouble reaching, and especially for an extended amount of time. So that's where toys are great. They come in handy. literally. So finding toys that are long enough, are firm enough, that have that sort of curve that can hook past the pubic bone and stimulate the G-spot in such a way, and using vibrators so that you can be doing some clitoral stimulation while you're having some penetrative action going on, and getting sort of all the angles in that sort of a way. So actually probably toys would be one of the best suggestions, I think, in terms of like the dream team of things that you need in your toolkit if you like want to really go for this. Commonly, I mean, I'll sing their praises all day long. So like the magic wand, formerly Hitachi, super high-powered vibration. It's a plug-in, as well as the Enjoy Pure Wand. These can be found also through my site if you search through my toy collection and whatnot. But yeah, the Enjoy Pure Wand, it's made of steel, so it's very firm. Obviously, it's heavy. It's like 2 pounds, and it's kind of relentless, which is kind of what you need when you're trying to really work the G-spot. So it's got that curve built in. Actually, it's funny. I know I'm doing a radio show where no one can see me, but I have my Enjoy Pure on right next to me just so that I can, have that sort of visual reminder of what it is. So it kind of looks like a curve, like a parentheses, like a not full letter C, and it's it's one of the toys that's known for helping along with squirting.
Okay. So I just want to do a very quick recap. So Victoria is saying that she recommends the Hitachi Magic Wand and the Android Pure Wand. And what you want to look for is you want to look for a toy that is firm and relentless, because that is going to help you get more fully aroused and take you over the edge. She's recommending a toy that has kind of like a hooky kind of angling. And what about those toys that are made of silicone, that have are more like rubbery, so that you can easily bend it? Would those also be toys that you would recommend?
I definitely love silicone in general because it's body safe, especially if it's pure silicone. And the thing to look for if you're going to go the more silicone route, and it can work in general, but also you want to try to look for something that's more got that curve, or has a lot of texture in that case. So something that has like a lot of repeated ridges or something like that, so that you can kind of, as you're thrusting in and out, be working on stimulating the G-spot repeatedly. But yeah, that's actually a great point on different sorts of materials. And honestly, I'm not going to say like, if you get these two things, this is going to be the way. Because I don't want to get angry emails saying that it didn't work for me. You have to try. You might have to try multiple times. You might have to try multiple different configurations of toys. And ultimately, it may not be a thing that happens for everybody. I'm not going to be the person who says, every single person who has a vulva is going to have a squirting experience. But it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah, we understand that you are sharing from your personal experience of what works for you, and these are the two that works for you, Magic Wand and Enjoy Pure Wand. So that's NJOY. Do you have any other tips before we go into break in 2 minutes?
Yeah, I know that peeing is definitely a concern for folks who is this pee, is this not pee? So whether it is or is not, I would definitely recommend going to pee beforehand, emptying your bladder, and putting down some towels, that sort of thing. Sometimes there's specific, absorbent things, sheets or whatever that might put your mind more at ease. So these are just extra sort of elements outside of the actual squirting practice itself that might help you, be more comfy going into it.
Yes. So Victoria is saying that in order for us to be able to ejaculate, we really need to be relaxed. So peeing beforehand helps to make sure that what you feel is definitely not pee. The next thing is have a towel or sheet underneath you so you don't worry about creating a mess. What you really need is to be fully aroused, and the use of vibrator really helps. That's some of her tips that she has right now. So let me remind you who is Victoria. Victoria Reuveni. She is, you can find her at sexologistphoenix.com. That's CIXENN.com.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment, a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
And I'm Susan Schuler.
And I'm Carrie Ann Larson.
And we are
the Psychic Angel Channelers
from Angel Talk Tuesday.
Tune in every week at 10 a.m. Eastern on OMTimesRadio.com.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Bathe in a beautiful vibrational frequency to help you heal, expand, and remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
There is no death, only a change of worlds. Chief Seattle. Deborah Livingston is an award-winning intuitive psychic medium whose international services include mediumship, spiritual assessment, animal communication, and spiritual mentoring. She is a published author and a trained shaman. Deborah provides evidential messages from spirit and departed loved ones. Learn more at deblivemedium.com. That's DEBLIV medium.com.
I want to thank my mommy for loving me so much,
for taking me to the doctor when I broke my foot,
for leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meet. We're talking about ejaculation right now. Ejaculation for those people who have a vulva, and it's very important to differentiate that with female because not everybody identifies as female. However, there are people who have vulva, and so it is just better languaging. And female ejaculation is also known as squirting, and so we're going to be talking about squirting in today's show. Just before the two breaks that we've had, we so far have talked about what is ejaculation or squirting, what are Victoria's tips about how to attain squirting, and also we recommended sex toys for you. There were some general tips that she shared as well. So we are with Victoria Reuveni, and we're talking about squirting today. She is a Los Angeles-based sexological bodyworker, sex educator, and coach, working with individuals, couples, and groups to facilitate going deeper in erotic embodiment and self-acceptance through mindfulness, breath work, and touch. So Victoria, welcome back.
Hi.
Hi. So happy you're still here. Okay, so share with us some of your more interesting ejaculation stories. As sexologists, we often share our own stories because that is a way of modeling and also giving people food for thought. So often we use our personal stories to illustrate perhaps the point. I'm very interested if you have some of your own stories that you're willing to share with listeners.
Yes, I do. So I briefly alluded to my first ejaculation or squirting that happened, it was actually 2 years ago now, where it actually took me quite a long time. And it's not that I set sort of, a timer or like a clock or something, okay, and go, and see how long this takes or anything. But it definitely was at least 2 hours. And it was, for me, it took a lot of arousal. I had some sort of porn going. I don't even know. I think I was sexting. I definitely could have used way more hands and arms. Would have been really helpful. And while I was doing that, I was trying to also use the magic wand clitorally or externally, and the Enjoy Pure one internally. So it was a lot of spinning plates, as it were. But getting super turned on and super aroused, and I had to have several orgasms before I even was near being able to squirt. And I remember I was sexting with someone, and I was like, I'm really tired. I can't do this anymore. And they encouraged me, no, go on just a little bit more. And sure enough, I was rewarded with a lovely sort of warm flowing of liquid, and it was really cathartic. I laughed out loud. It was really amazing to see that this happened. And it was interesting to note for myself, and I think this is pretty common for folks, is that it was a lovely release, but that wasn't particularly orgasmic in and of itself. So I found that it was interesting that they were separate sorts of experiences. An orgasm is an orgasm, and a squirting is a squirting, and they don't feel similar in my experience. So that was definitely my first time, and boy, were my arms tired.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure listeners have some questions, and I already can anticipate some questions that I often hear from people. So I'm just going to ask you, you said you have had a few orgasms before you actually ejaculated, and a lot of people, when they have their orgasm, they tend to feel very tired and very sore. So you kept going and you had a few orgasms. So were you not tired?
No, in general for me, particularly if I'm spending the time to go and do the sort of exploration, it's one of the things where if I do get a little bit tired, like I take a little bit break perhaps, but then I keep going, have a sip of water or whatever and get back to it. So that's not my experience in general, that I'm like super duper tired, unless I'm generally just like masturbating and wanting to get off before sleep. That's a different sort of thing. That's not as involved.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes you might have to just sort of push yourself. Again?
Okay, so sometimes you really have to push yourself. So the next thing I'm curious is, were you sore, going on for so long?
Yeah, I definitely felt a little bit sore. My vagina was kind of like, oh, something was up. But it was also a lovely, pleasant reminder the rest of the next day. So I was like, oh, yeah, I did that thing, and it was pretty cool. So it wasn't like, for me in my experience, it wasn't like debilitating. It was just like, oh, okay. It's a little tender.
So this is what I'm getting from Victoria's ejaculation story. She decided to go for it. She was doing whatever she could to stimulate herself. She watched porn. She did sex texting. So she was getting the emotional support from her friend as well. And then she was using the Hitachi magic wand externally and also on her clit. And then she was using the pure wand internally. So she stimulated herself. She had a few orgasms, but she didn't stop there. She just kept going. And like she mentioned, she was going for about 2 hours before she had a release. The experience to her felt more like a release rather than that feeling that you get when you have an orgasm. So to her, it's more of a release rather than an orgasm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great summary.
I'm just doing my best. So do you have any other stories that you would like to share?
Yeah, actually, It's definitely not as vivid, but I do remember one time I was receiving some sexological bodywork, helping someone who was going through the training, so they needed to work on bodies, and I'm always happy to mentor or help, so I can give pointers both as someone who is receiving this sort of hands-on experience, but also as someone who has done the hands-on work, so I can give, both sides of the coin, but long-winded explanation for this. But yeah, so there was a time when I was, I forget exactly, it might have been two different things where they were doing some work internally, wearing gloves, of course, and stimulating me internally and working my G-spot, and it came away with a bit of a fluid, and I didn't particularly notice that sort of gushing sensation that I have had in the past of connecting oh, wow, that was a gushing experience where whether, even if I looked down, I would know that that was something that just happened. So in that case, with the bodyworker, I didn't connect those two things. But they said that it was a little bit of a different sort of viscous expulsion, but not really expulsion, just a gushing. So that was interesting to not to sort of experience that. And so you may notice it and you may not notice it. It's interesting to tune into your body and see what's going on. Honestly, to be totally honest, I don't have a ton of experiences yet with this. I don't spend a lot of the time to go and explore. So I guess it's overdue, and I need to do that soon. But actually, this is also kind of amusing. One of the times before I taught this, I think maybe it was even the first time that I taught my Calling Forth the Gush class to a live group of folks. I think I did go, and I mean, sometimes you just need to master it and get off so that you can focus on what you need to get to. And I think I did have an ejaculation or a squirting or a gushing or whatever, and I had forgotten to put a towel down. And so I laughed as this, educator or whatever, and I'm still human, and I forgot, and it was super funny to me. So, it tries. It's fine.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
It is important for us to be vulnerable and share all that part because, a lot of people say good sex is messy, and definitely leaving messes behind is just part of being human.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So at this point, I'd like to share a little bit about female ejaculation for myself. What happened was I was doing my orgasmic yoga, which is 30 minutes for 30 days. And one of the days that I decided to do this, I think it was 2 years ago, was in the bathroom because I was showering anyway. So I decided to go for it in the bathroom, took my vibrator, put it into my vagina, and at some point I felt like peeing. So I said, well, I'm already in the bathroom, I'm already naked, the bathroom floor is wet anyway, so why not just allow myself to pee? However, as I started to so-called pee, it was a very sharp feeling that I had not felt before when I peed. And I had finished this peeing, and I kind of bent over a little bit because it was a sharp pain. And then after that whole thing finished, I was like, oh, wait a minute, it feels different from peeing. Did I just ejaculate? And I was like, this is what I teach. Maybe I should taste my pee so that I can kind of verify if it tastes different. And I was like, nah, it's all on the floor. I'm not going to pick it up from the floor. So that was my one experience of female ejaculation.
Yeah, definitely. That's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think what happens is often we feel this urge of peeing as we are being stimulated internally or externally, and then we think it's pee, and then we're holding back. So this is the reason why I feel a lot of people can't ejaculate.
Definitely, and it's worth noting while we're in the pee area or discussion that when you're working at it and you're working a G-spot, if you're using a toy or your fingers, you have to remove the object so that the gush, the fluid can, easily flow. Because think of it like a hose. If you like bend a hose in one spot, the water is not going to really flow out of the hose. So you have to
if you block it.
Yeah, so that's a super good point. I'm glad that made me think of that.
Yeah, that's maybe why I was having that sharp pain, because I was, having the vibrator in my vagina, and I was like, nah, I'm going to keep going. Well, I feel like peeing. No, and then probably the sharp pain that I was feeling. So what you're saying is take out anything that's in your vagina so that there's no blockage, so that the liquid can flow out more easily.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a break right now, and we'll come back after this break.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Come heal yourself. What is healing? Healing is nothing but connecting with your all-knowing higher self that already has solutions to all your problems and is always there to guide you. Through this show, we help you to connect with that you are and tap into that innate potential you have to transform your life and fly high. Please join me, your host Monica Goyal, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Namaste.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit rain.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
And this is the last 15 minutes of today's show on Eros Evolution. The title is Come Hither, Calling for the Gush. We are with Victoria Reuveni, and she is a clinical, she's a sex education, sexological bodyworker and coach. And she's also the board member and educator with the Center for Positive Sexuality. And you can find her at sexologistbinix.com. That's BIXENNE.com. You will be able to find on her website blogs about, of course, sex, kink, gender, body image, and sex toys. She has been awarded, I don't know what kind of award it is, but according to her website, she is basically a very good blogger. She won the top sex blogger 2014, and then she won the top 100 kinky sex blogging superheroes of 2015 and also 2014, and she won another one, a top sex blogger 2015. And because I am not a top sex blogger, definitely hit off to her. I have a lot of respect for her because I know there's a lot of competition in the U.S. There's a lot of very good sex educators. And so what I'm saying in a long-winded way is you must go check out her website, sexologistbinix.com. And welcome back, Victoria.
Glad to be back.
Hi. Okay, so on this show, we explore the link between sex and spirit. And on today's show, I'd like to ask you, what do you feel is the link between sexuality and spirituality in your own words?
This is a tough question, but I don't know that I have an answer that's clear and succinct. But I do think that there's like something with connection. There's something with whether it's a momentary connection, is just hook up for something for the night, or whether it's a relationship connection or what have you. There's something. And it's clunky, and I know I'm not being clear, but there's just something that it draws you to another person. You look in their eyes, you feel the lust, you feel the hunger, you feel a tingle or butterflies in your tummy or whatever. And for me, in a goofy kind of way, that's what I think of as some sort of connection to sex and spirit.
Beautiful. What you're saying is that something magical at the moment where you are drawn to that particular individual, and that to you is the line between sexuality and spirituality.
I think so, and it definitely can be. I don't know. In my experience, it definitely has been a difference where, if it's just sort of like some kind of hookup where I wasn't fully there, or I didn't really want, or I didn't trust my gut, and I didn't really want to be in that sort of situation. That's just it made you leave feeling kind of icky feeling. So it's just, which, those are learning experiences, and those are important as well on your journey. But there's also this other thing where it's kind of take it to the next level. Or it's just you're breathing together, you're feeling, you're moving. If there's moans, and it's you can laugh in the middle as well, and it's just delicious.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, we're interested now to move along, and it's been a while since I connected with you in May, talking about orgasmic yoga. So what have you been up to?
Yes. So when we last spoke, I was putting together a 3-evening mini-series up in Sacramento, which ended up being really great. I learned a ton, both in my own personal practice as well as a facilitator, and how to create a safe space as possible. And it's a lot. So my practice and how I facilitate has changed a little bit. But ultimately, the same core in orgasmic yoga has stayed the same, which is that there's no one way to do orgasmic yoga, and you come in, and it's a time and space that's set aside for you, and we do this in a group, to come in, phones are off, and you get to do what feels right, as long as you follow the boundaries of we're not eye-gazing, no one's touching anyone else. And you're there in your own space, and people are doing maybe similar sorts of things, self-pleasuring. But it can range from people being completely closed and just, laying there breathing, which is fantastic, all the way to completely nude the minute I say go. And it's been a delicious mix of spectrum in between there. And so I've continued with the orgasmic yoga. I have done them. November will be my 1-year anniversary of having them consistently, which is really exciting, and it seems a lot closer than I don't know where the year went. But now I have 2 a month through the end of the year. So if you're in Los Angeles, you can, find out about it, and I'd love to, see if you're a good fit to do this practice. But it's really awesome to just sort of explore, because we're always so on the go. If we have a regular self-pleasuring practice, it's very much, okay, do this and then move on to the next activity, 10, 15 minutes, and on to the next thing. But in this intentional space, you get to slow down, you get reminders to breathe and check in and move and all these delicious things, and check in with your intention. And it changes from time to time, and it's just lovely. And I'm so blessed to be doing this practice and facilitating for folks.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you are running Orgasmic Yoga Circle 2 times a month in LA, and people who are interested can reach out to you. Any other things that you are working on right now?
This is the main thing I've got going right now, and I definitely am open to taking sexological bodywork clients if folks are looking for a hands-on sort of facilitation of working through concerns or diving deep into pleasure. So these are kind of my main things right now.
Okay. So for those of you who are still confused or puzzled about what sexological bodyworker means, so I went for the training, sexological bodywork, and I have this very well-regarded certification behind me. However, in Singapore, I don't do any hands-on work. I don't do touch. I don't do nudity. But there are people who are enlightened all around the world who do incorporate genital touch in their work. And it's not about sex or getting off from someone or deriving pleasure from someone. This is really used for the purpose of helping, supporting, aiding that person in understanding, exploring their sexuality, and this can involve somebody facilitating you by actually touching you, and for different intentions, such as learning about your anatomy, how it works, maybe learning how to attain ejaculation if you have, for those people who have a vulva, for instance. And so Victoria is saying that she does offer this service in LA. Anything else that you would like to add that I'm missing out?
You summarized it very perfectly, and I don't really have anything to add at the moment.
Okay, thank you. And so tell us, like, how has your life changed doing orgasmic yoga? I know that you said you've learned a lot, and your facilitation has changed. I'm interested in you, the person, the individual. How has orgasmic yoga changed your life?
Yeah, it's so cool to see that I give myself permission to show up, particularly when I do orgasmic yoga, in whatever way that I'm able to authentically show up. And that changes by day. It changes due to my mood, how much sleep I've had, did someone cut me off in traffic on the way there, all these different things. And so I show up. Am I in pain? I recently, this past Sunday, I facilitated a circle, and I let everyone know, like, hey, I am actually in pain, and this is difficult, but I'm here, and, I'm showing up, and I'm curious to see what will happen. So it's really become a thing of, not only do I give permission to my students, but also to myself, because it's so easy, particularly as a sex educator, to be super hard on yourself and, we're this, super great example for other people and blah, blah, blah. But I'm also a person, and I'm also human, and I'm dealing with my own struggles as well. And so hopefully I'm able to model that sort of vulnerability, and people can see, I just have a little bit of training, and I have resources that are closer to my fingertips maybe than the average bear. But other than that, I still need reminders on breathing. I still need reminders to get up and move. So all of that. So it's really about giving myself permission and remembering to breathe.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So what Victoria is saying is that even though she has all these credentials and training and also facilitates orgasmic yoga, I think it's what she's saying is very important to be gentle to ourselves, to give ourselves permission. There would be times when we don't feel like masturbating, don't feel like moving, and we just need to keep going at it and be gentle with ourselves. And that's pretty much what I'm getting from her. For myself, orgasmic yoga has helped me to become a lot more sensitive and gentle with myself as well. And I'm actually going to be teaching orgasmic yoga, facilitating a session in Sydney. I'm going to be in Sydney on the 5th to the 18th of October. And for those of you who are interested to find out more about these workshops, can go to my website, arrowscoaching.com/events, and you'll be able to find all my event dates and workshops that I'm sharing in October. So thank you very much, Victoria, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And her website, once again, is sexologistphoenix.com. And next week I have a different guest, and we're going to be talking about sex coaching and why you need it with Miss Maisha Battle. And I'm going to be doing this show from Sydney next week. So stay tuned and have a good week ahead.
Bye.